Denizens of the internet, welcome to the Dukedom. I'm your host, Duke Jarbo, author, pedestrian, disc golfer, Stadia user, one-wheel enthusiast, bread maker, rock climber, Star Wars and Star Trek nerd, and all-around generally strange guy, and a fan of the Bond films. And this, my co-host, is Monsieur Aaron.
That is Cheatham, Aaron Cheatham. I'm a man of many hats. I was a rock star in a past life. I'm a dad now, and I'm actually in a crazy crypto journey, 6 months deep. But James Bond, been a fan since I was a kid. Kid, man.
Same. I think that's a lot of us out there in the world today. And so I just want to say thank you, Mr. Aaron, for joining me on today's show, which is Bond, Jane Bond. Hot take. What's your hot take?
I think it's a novel idea. I mean, I remember Marvel did something like a girl Thor once, and I thought that was pretty cool. I loved Bond since I was a kid. My parents were always like rocking the Thanksgiving Day, like Bond marathons. So I'd catch them pretty early. I think the first one I saw was You Only Live Twice, and then Dr. No quick right after that, and then I think I just watched the rest of them all in one day, and then as they came out, I just kept watching them. And Bond has really progressed throughout the years with the blonde guy. What's his name?
Well, there was two blondes, Daniel Craig, Roger Moore.
Yes, Roger. Oh, yeah, Roger Moore is a blonde.
He is.
Blonde,
He's sort of blonde, yeah.
True that. But, you know, the idea of a Jane Bond, I think, is great, because initially the writer of Bond didn't even have somebody that looked like Sean Connery in mind for Bond, and Sean Connery killed the role so well that he changed his idea of what Bond should look like anyway. So it's a mutable character. I don't see why not a girl Bond at this point in time.
Yeah, you know, that's an interesting idea about it, like especially talking about like Thor, Love and Thunder, right? Like we've got Jane again. But yeah, you know, it's interesting. I've also been a Bond fan since I was a kid, and you know, Bond's like gone through many actors, and I'm not against a Jane Bond, you know, but I didn't always feel this way. And you know, what changed my mind was Miles Morales, and that might be a weird segue into Spider-Man, but you know, the fact that I'm super into like the many worlds theory, you know, versus the Copenhagen interpretation, you know, it makes it easy for me to get behind a multiverse of possibilities. But I find it interesting that you got to like jump into all this Bond at a very young age. Like I had Timothy Dalton. Like I got to watch those Bond films, and then I saw a few of the other ones with Roger Moore and Sean Connery, but not really much until much later. And it's actually why I got a Netflix membership in the first place, back when they only did DVDs. I'm talking like 2002, you know?
Yes.
Like, and it's because Blockbuster and Hollywood Video let me down. They did.
Oh, Hollywood Video. Yeah.
Dude, now you were talking about earlier in the show notes, like we were kind of going over some things. Hollywood Video. Do you mind talking about that now?
No, not at all. It's I'm actually paid up, so there's nobody after me for this anymore.
And they don't exist.
And they don't exist. I had a friend, actually my best friend worked at Hollywood Video, and I would go there all the time. I loved Blockbuster more, but when he got a job there, I started frequenting Hollywood Video more because we chill there. And I rented the movie Heat because I heard it was dope, and it was dope. It's 3 hours of dope, a long movie, but I kept it for like, I had late fees for that for like 3 years that racked up to $80. They eventually sent me to collections. They were calling me. I think I went to go pay like I think I went to like open an account or something somewhere, and they were like, you can't open an account until you pay this bill. I was like, what? This Hollywood Video? And I didn't even have the movie anymore. It was long gone at this point. So I paid the bill and did whatever, but that was my Hollywood Video story. I liked Hollywood Video. I did like Hollywood Video. I
did too. They had a much more straightforward late fee penalty. I mean, obviously you didn't give a flying F about it. You're like, whatever, Heat's mine.
I tested it. I tested the limits of it.
I think Blockbuster would eventually send someone to your house. Like they're a little more hardcore. You know what's interesting is like they almost beat Netflix at their game with the mail-in DVDs. There's a good documentary on it on I think Netflix, or is it Hulu? It's like the last Blockbuster. Anyway. I'm digressing. I appreciate your sharing of your collection.
There was one in town not that far away for not that long ago, actually.
Oh, really? Are you serious? Like, we had a Blockbuster that was like the last Blockbuster standing in San Diego for until recently? Yeah, I mean, digressions aside, that being said, I am into this idea of like multiverse stuff, but I don't really want like 15 different spider people, you know, just because it's easier to make like derivatives of an established and loved character, you know, than it is to create like a new character. I think it comes off as like a cheap ploy, you know, and you know, it's one that's driven more by those who only care about like a return on investment instead of like, you know, maybe the creative aspects, because at the end of the day, the bottom line is the bottom line. This is the society we live in. But am I down for Jane Bond? Yeah, if the creatives behind it are just as stoked on it because, you know, they've got a very creative and original way to tell that story. So if the writers, directors, producers, the actors of a Jane Bond, if they're jacked to the tits because they think the story, the sets, the character arcs are compelling and awesome, then yeah, I'm all for that. I can get on board with that. I don't care how woke it is. I just care about the story and the people behind the story, that they're invested in it. And if I think that their intent is good and the studio doesn't mess it up, you know, for the almighty buck, then it's got a chance to be good. And I've got an open mind about it.
Yeah, you know, I just hope we don't have to start leaning on ideas like ideas like the multiverse just to sell more movies and make more copies of movies now that could be just more diverse, sort of pseudo-diverse copies of movies going forward into the future. You know, like the idea of the multiverse I think is great. I've studied Eastern religions for years, especially like Hinduism. Multiverse has always been part of my life. I love comics. Infinity Wars was one of my favorite like series back in the day. All the doppelgangers that came out, all the doubles of all the superheroes and everything. I thought that was really cool. I just don't think that we should lean on that sort of mythology or sort of like worldview to sell more movies. I feel like going forward, we should just like, you know, even stop some series and say like, hey, James Bond is done. Let's do something else now, you know, because, you know, and on the other side, there's always the maximalist, the James Bond maximalist, who's also like got it wrong. The guy that's like, no, James Bond should be the guy from the original book, and even Dr. No is wrong. You know, like, that guy's out there. So,
right.
You know, yeah, it's all about entertainment and shareholder equity. And if you had a good time, that's great. That's what I think it's really about. You know?
Yeah, and you know what? What's interesting is, you know, there's been actual Jane Bond movies. Like, this isn't an original idea. You know, capitalists among the world have been like, yo, can't we spin this? And they exist. So there's only two that I could find.
Yes.
There's
okay.
First one that I could find was Jane Bond, made in 1975. Now, IMDb says,
okay.
Secret agent Jane Bond is assigned to break up a heroin smuggling ring operating out of Hong Kong. And, you know, it's like, all right, cool, but that's not a lot to go on. But the best about it is this review. So this guy leaves this review, and he says, Joan Devlin, C. Director Bob Kirk, no. Joan Devlin fans undoubtedly enjoy this extremely poorly made porn opus, courtesy of incompetent director Bob Kirk. If only she could have chosen her projects and auteurs more wisely. It's not a bad idea having Joan as a super spy, actually spoofing Man from U.N.C.L.E. or Stefania Powers in Girl from U.N.C.L.E., in addition to 007. But Frisco-based Uberhack Kirk botches everything, seemingly on purpose. And I just like find that hilarious. So basically, like, this is some Skinamax softcore Shannon Tweed stuff.
Okay, so we talked about this a little bit in the show notes beforehand, and I actually went right to YouTube and searched this, and the first thing that came up was a 1960s movie, black and white as well, from Hong Kong. Completely different vibe. Like, she was a warrior ninja, and I think it had nothing to do with James Bond whatsoever. In fact, looking into this more, I couldn't find anything beyond the IMDb website. I mean, I didn't dig like 3 Google pages deep, but I couldn't find anything other than the IMDb. Nothing about Joan Devlin. I even typed her name in, and I didn't look up Bob Kirk, but that was one I might be thinking of, because I'm like, if he messed up this movie, I wonder if he messed up some other movies, or I want to watch this movie. I want to see this Skinamax freaking Jane Bond movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, not because it's Skinamax.
You know?
Not
it's for science.
Exactly. For science.
For science. Of course. Serious science.
But there is another one. There's one. All right. So then there's the 2000 Jane Bond short. And this one's got a running time of only 18 minutes. And the only thing I could find out about it is that the writer, director, actor, producer is a lady named Christina Zilber. And what's interesting now is like she owns a makeup company called Jour. I don't know. It's French to play. I'm not familiar with that. Anyway, and what's interesting is so she's got this company. It's fairly successful, and her kid is kind of like, you know, this teenage influencer for her mom's brand, and she's got 2 million followers, and her daughter gets caught up in a bit of a scandal just last year in 2020. So she and several other like beauty vloggers on Instagram and bloggers, whatever, they influencers, they painted their face in an almost blackface, kind of blackface. Yeah, it's blackface. We're just ignorant and didn't mean it that way, but yeah, it's definitely blackface. And
come on, bro. This is what?
Yeah, but it's like they just like one of them was like a German girl, and she had like no idea. She's like, "Oh shit, I didn't know." Like, and so she like deleted it. This girl though, the daughter of like Christina Zilber, she didn't delete hers. She just left it up there. But like she had like a PR statement or whatever. But like she didn't paint her face like some of the other girls did. She did a fist on her face, like the black fist on her face, and then like
like the Black Power.
And then BLM on her cheek, and then I can't breathe across her throat. And it was just like, she got a lot of flack for it.
Yeah. Why not just choose black actresses to be in the background? Other than whatever. If I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird. It was just a weird there's just an interesting thing of like, Jane Bond, and then all of a sudden like the rabbit hole leads you to one 18-minute short, and the lady that did it all was like her daughter's like a weird influencer that's getting in trouble for.
Was James Bond anywhere even involved in this whole thing, or just happened to be named? It just happened to be named Jane Bond. Was that how?
No, it was supposed to be like a derivative of James Bond, but yeah. So that, and because it's like hard to find information on it, and that's all I could get.
You know, what I'm really interested in is how they're gonna rehash like some of the old classics like Q and M, and like how they're gonna do like love interests and stuff for Jane. They're gonna switch it up, do interesting things. I think that's what's gonna be the most interesting thing for me to see. And you know, I bet a lot of other people are gonna be like, "That's what I'm gonna go see. I want to see if they're doing the old Q thing. I want to see if they're doing the old M thing, the old villain thing, the old love interest thing." You know.
Well, and like the Bond template, kind of like. I mean, it got flipped on its head when Daniel Craig took over. Like, that was more of like a Bourne movie. The first one was like...
Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne.
It's Jason Bourne. It's Jason Bourne.
Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne.
It's Jason Bourne. Yeah.
That's so good.
It is.
So good. Thank you, Internet. Thank you, Internet.
There's a lot of good Jason Bourne meme out there.
So good.
He's the new Bond, but he just... Can you imagine, like... They did try to, they got Jeremy Renner in to do a Bourne story. He wasn't Jason Bourne, because it's kind of like, Are they good? They could do that though. They could recast Jason Bourne. Do you think they'll do that? Do you think they'll remake Jason Bourne?
Yeah, I think they will. You know, like with the Tom Clancy movies, you know, they've done Jack Ryan many times, many different ways. So I think it's something that they would do.
That's true, and I did enjoy the first season on Amazon Prime. That was
I actually liked it. I did too. I thought it was really good, and I liked all the movies, regardless of who played Jack Ryan.
That's true.
So
that's true.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so that's James Bond. There's been a bit of a quibble on the interwebs about this idea that it might be Jane Bond, you know. But back in January in the LA Times, Christy Carras, sorry if I butcher her name, you know, she wrote the article, James Bond producer, 007 can be of any color, but never a woman. And that's from Barbara Broccoli. So, and for those that don't know, she's the daughter of one of the original co-producers, Cubby.
Now, is that Albert's granddaughter?
No, just daughter, actual daughter. So it's Cubby Broccoli, his actual daughter, and then because he had her later in life, then So the other co-producer was Harry Saltzman. He's the one who actually first originally bought the rights to make James Bond. It was kind of before he was actually making. We should actually do a whole thing because there's a lot of like weird stuff.
Yeah, that could be a thing.
Yeah, we could do like 4 episodes, 2 each on the co-producers. There's so much weird stuff. But anyway, Barbara, so she's the daughter of Cubby. She's actually been running the production company with her brother for the Bond film since 1995, and you know she's the one that kind of like, you know, she authorized Pierce Brosnan, Daniel Craig, so she's been in it and helped shaping it. And this is what she had to say on the subject, which really kind of hit 2 birds with one stone, as she immediately addresses the issue of what race can Bond be. And she says, he can be of any color, but he is male. She told Variety, I believe we should be creating new characters for women, strong female characters. I'm not particularly interested in taking a male character and having a woman play it. I think women are far more interesting than that. And I kind of like how she phrased that, right? Yeah.
Preach. Yeah. I like that. I agree. Like I said before, why rehash James Bond? Let James Bond end. We could all go to reruns of James Bond and watch James Bond till we're blue in the face. Love it. Let's move on. Let's get some new female heroes, heroines. Let's get some new female strong characters. That's great. Like, and once again, like, why are we just copy and pasting a woman on this guy's thing? You know, like, let's have a creative new thing to see going forward. Yeah, and I think that's great. I think that's great that she said that too. And now, is she going to allow there to be a Jane Bond, or is that kind of her statement like that's never going to happen?
Oh yeah, I think she's like, listen, there'll be interesting characters female characters in the James Bond like movie universe, but James Bond is male, and that's that. And I think that's totally fine. Like, yeah, create new characters. And you know, we haven't really, because like we haven't like brought it up this way, but like think about it like this, like the rhombus square analogy, right? James Bond is 007. But 007 is not always James Bond. You know, we know they recycle those. It's like a position, right? So it could be cool if, like, what if James Bond evolved into M, and there's a new 007 with a different name because it's a different person, you know? And then it's definitely like, well, who cares if this person's a girl, if this person's black? Who cares what that person is? Like, as long as they have like a cool, interesting story that makes them 007. I'm totally down for James Bond to be an old, like, gray-haired M, you know?
I like that. That's like a very comic book way to do it, too. I like that.
Yeah, like evolve, move on.
And it's all... Yeah, and it's good. It's like, it's realistic, you know? The guy that did it, it's a title, like you said. It's not 007 is James Bond. There's been other 00s and other numbers, and they got different names behind them. So, yeah. Exactly.
And that's kind of it. So, you know what? That's all we really got for this episode. Next week we might dive into Cubby Broccoli and all the strangeness resolving around him. Or who knows, we'll come up with something, and that's pretty much it. So thank you so much for listening. Smash that like button. Please subscribe, and let us know your thoughts on Jane Bond in the comments section below. I'm going to be hanging out down there, see what I have to say, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Aaron if he's got any other parting words, and take care.
Yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Same in the comments, if you guys have ideas for future shows you want to do or you want to see us do too, just drop them down there. We'll take them into consideration. We're always open to ideas. We're just gonna throw some things around and do this thing. So yeah, hit like, hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell to get notified, and check Duke's channel out, and check my channel out too, Aaron Cheatham.
Link in the description below. Peace out.